everyone. Catherine Jers here. My pronouns are they, them, and theirs. I am a professional psychic, and I'm also a professional brow artist. And Psychic Brows is the channel where I combine them both. Welcome back, everyone, to our Halloween special series week, and welcome to today's episode, which is our campfire ghost stories in honor of Halloween. And I want to thank everyone who joined us for our last episode where I talked about paranormal attachment that I got because I got scared by a TV show. So that's some good stuff if you want to go and listen or watch that one. Okay. All right. So I have Mel with me today. My Mel, for those of you who haven't met him. So this is my husband. We live together. We work together, and we're doing the campfire stories together because we often experience them together. And so it bounces off each other a lot. Okay. I'm going to start right out with this. Put you on the spot, Mel. You ready?
Maybe. We'll see.
What's your scariest one you can think of? I'm going to start with the good stuff. That's what people want.
Well, I don't know if I could really pick just one scary story, but I can probably talk about some of the types of entities I've encountered.
Okay.
All right.
All right. What do you mean by entities?
So like spirits, ghosts, demons, whatever you want to call them. You decide. I'll give you a story or two.
So an all-encompassing umbrella.
Maybe.
Of any of these
Like
things.
I said, you know what? Let's let them decide if what I'm encountering, what kind of entities they are.
Okay.
They're not human.
Okay.
That I can tell you. They're not human.
Okay. One thing I'm going to interject real quick before you start.
Yeah.
If you hear my honey girl bark, or say our honey girl, but right now it's my honey girl because she's barking because if you've been listening this week, you have learned that when I get spooked, I become vulnerable, my shields become vulnerable, and my honey girl is always trying to stop me from that happening. She's the same one that if I'm traveling into the astral, she pulls me back and she barks and pulls me back. Don't go.
Before we get into the super scary stuff, can we talk about how sensitive Honey is to ghosts?
Uh-huh.
Like at the park today.
Mm-hmm.
And Okie playing with the ghost that we both saw the skeleton hand of.
Yes, and this is not the same Okie playing fetch with the ghost story from the dog park that we told before.
This is a new Okie playing fetch with the ghost story.
We just came from the park with the dogs. So, and
we're playing fetch. It's dark, right? But we're playing fetch. We got the bright orange ball. And there's a point where we're not sure if he has the ball. It looks like he might have picked something else up and was eating something. You know, like his mouth movements weren't quite right.
Yeah, it was weird. There was something different. We were like, do you have a ball in your mouth or where's your ball?
Right. Or did you pick up like a carcass or something? Right.
No, and it's dark. But yeah.
But yeah.
And it's dark, but you know, there's areas of light where you can see things or whatever.
Yeah, so we can barely see. We can see him, but it's just really dark. We can barely see his outline.
So right before that, probably like a minute or two before that, I felt something. And I was like, oh, and I was like, we have someone with us. And then I was like, oh, they like playing with the dogs. And I was like, they're okay, but but you know, they're into the dogs. And then right after that, Okie he had his ball. He went fetch. And then it was weird because I couldn't tell if he had his ball in his mouth or not. And then I was like, what do you have in your mouth? And he came close to me and I saw
I flashed the light, my lamp.
And I saw what looked like, I don't know how to say it. I didn't know if it looked like it was like fingers or like, I didn't know if he had picked up bones or something, but it was like two of this near his mouth. And
I saw it too.
Well, and I was like, what do you have? And Mel's like, I think he has. And I said, I saw him. I said, they're playing fetch with him.
Yeah. I just saw, you know, it was like this kind of whitish gray thing.
Yeah. It was a hand.
Yeah. I would say, I thought it was like a bone or something like that.
And okay, honey girl. I know. Hold on.
Then after that, that's when both him and Honey then
yeah, they both beelined and went to a corner and stared at it. And then Honey started whining. And I was like, okay, I guess we're done.
Yeah.
I guess it's time to go. Because even we just pack it up at times and say, you know what? We don't need to deal with stuff we don't need to deal with. And I very much, someone was into the dogs and trying to play, fetch like fingers. But at the same time, also, it's not always just, like that one that was there. And then suddenly they're staring, because now guess what? Things are open and and I'm the weak link, everyone. It's me.
Whatever. Not
and
true.
And we're back. So whenever I start to do things that start to sometimes, spook me, whether it's scary stories or a scary show that gets me, and I start opening up, I become vulnerable. My honey girl is always trying to pull me back. So we may have to pause more than once because sometimes I just have to stop talking and reshield or assure her that it's okay. Mm-hmm. Or maybe sometimes I have to be like, oh, maybe I'm not okay. Right? Okay. So yeah, literally we just came from the park and that's just life, like that we deal with so much that when we're like, oh, what ghost story should we tell? We didn't even occur to us that we just had one. Just happened.
Right. That's right.
And
well, not only that, look, what was it yesterday? Yesterday I discovered a light bulb just not in the socket.
Right.
Like we just randomly have a missing light bulb.
Yeah. Mel texted me at work and it's like, what happened to this? Did you take this out and not replace it? I'm like, no, I don't change light bulbs. You know that. That would require me pulling a stepladder out, and I don't want to do that.
So, yes, we have stuff like that happen. And I guess, and that's my thing. To some people, that level, having a missing light bulb would freak them out. Mm-hmm. That'd be enough. That's the ghost story. We're done. Going to bed. Good night.
And yeah, I guess there is a part where we just get used to stuff, but also I will say, because we will connect on it, and there's times where like not all these things, not just because we're used to talking or seeing them, but because we also know that everything's malevolent. Is that the word I want? Malevolent. Yeah. Everything's not malevolent. There's some really beautiful stories with it too. So it's not always bad. We call it the ghost band in the house. The
ghost band. Yeah. The ghost band is awesome.
My joke I used to say I was Club Underground, and I was going to start charging a cover fee for all of the parties they were having here, because basically we would just randomly, it was like we were in a party. Yeah,
it was loud too. Yeah. It wasn't like, what's that sound in the distance? No.
It is different genres. Sometimes it would be like swing band. Sometimes it would be like the Roaring 20s. Sometimes it would be rock and roll. I don't know. It literally could be almost any genre or orchestra music. It was just
the orchestra music was fun too.
But the thing about it was always joyful. It was always not harmful.
Do you remember when that stopped though?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I'll let you talk about that.
So, okay, you're going to help me because, my recollection is not always great because there's so much of it that goes on and they start to, I forget what happened first and whatever. But that was when we actually had this, we call them visitors. When we have folks that pass through and they kind of linger, we call them visitors. Mm-hmm. Because look, this is all shared space. Mm-hmm. Like you don't have to be on some ancient burial ground, blah, blah, blah. This is all shared space. Mm-hmm. So dimensions, time, planes, whatever, we're all utilizing it together, right? So there's constantly spirits and energies passing through. I mean, we probably look like ghosts. Oh my God. Okay. Remind me, let me talk about in a little bit my fairly recent astral travel where I was a ghost and I got...
Oh, that was the best. You're somebody else's ghost story.
I was somebody else's
ghost story. Oh my gosh. I'm going to put that on a post-it because we'll forget. Mal equals ghost.
Okay. So anyways, but this one here, we have this visitor and he's causing problems for us.
Yeah, he was.
He had the hat and the.
Oh my gosh, he
like
had
a duster.
A duster, like trench coat.
Yeah, like a trench coat.
Duster kind of jacket. The hat, like a Oh. How do you want to describe that hat? What do you call that?
Black hat. I don't know.
And
not like a ball cap.
No,
right?
no. He was nasty. He was nasty.
He was.
He was so nasty. When I said that, if you watch the episode where we did the react video or listen to that, where the person had the ghost or whatever, the entity holding the covers over them and the pressure on them.
Oh,
they're fighting it off. And I said, I've had that happen. It was the scariest thing I've ever encountered. It was that hat guy.
I remember, yeah.
And we had both seen him at different times and different places. It's super bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
And
when he started hanging around,
he did that to me. And I had to fight him off. And it was the scariest thing sorry. Yeah.
Well,
I hate when the ghost things get real.
So, yeah, because I remember waking up once in the middle of the night,
mm-hmm.
and Okinawa, he'll usually sleep kind of on my side of the bed. And so I remember waking up in the middle of the night and I see this dude leaning over my dog,
mm-hmm.
our dog.
I know, but it was old Oki who came with you to me.
It was old Oki.
Mm-hmm.
So he was just like staring, just like leaning and staring at my dog.
And I want to say old Oki was near the end of his life at that point, and it was like he was trying to make it sooner.
It was this weird lurking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he was bad. When he was around, all the fun like ghost band and all the joyful ghost and
because we had
you couldn't take a picture in this house without like a million happy orbs popping up.
I forgot about that.
And then when that guy was around, it
was done. Like everything was gone.
I almost swore. When that guy was around, they cleared out of here. Like it was like, sorry, we're out. I mean,
they abandoned us.
They were like, we don't want to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're not going to talk on it too much because one of the things that happens, sometimes people have clearings, like we've done clearings at people's houses before or businesses, and it's good. And then like sometimes people are like, it came back. Right? We're like, well, stop talking about them.
Stop inviting them back.
Yeah. So we're not going to talk about that because...
By the way, no longer here.
Yeah, no longer here, but it was rough and made our ghost band and our party joyful spirits because they would just pop in and have... It wasn't like every night, but then it would be like... And you could just hear... Oh my gosh, it was amazing. Loud. But also just... beautiful, like amazing. Yes, you couldn't help but like smile when it happened.
It took a long time for them to come back.
Yeah, but they're back.
But they're back.
Yeah, they're back now. But it took a long. Yeah, they're like, are you good in there? So it's not always bad, and so that's also why we can live with things. I think, and it's not so scary because like. We did a clearing for a house. We did it together, actually. Remember this? Mm-hmm. And the reason we were called there was because there was a haunting going on. And the house owner had brought us there because they were they were suffering depression from it, right?
Yep.
Am I recalling this right? Yeah. And it was getting so bad that they were worried about like their own well-being with it. And then they also had kids. Mm-hmm. And so we went there and we just did our thing. So we split up.
Yep. We split up at first and then we met in the basement.
We didn't tend to, but we both ended up meeting up in the basement. And so I'll tell my end of it.
Okay.
And you can tell your end of it.
Okay.
No, you start with yours because yours smells so weird. His stuff is weird.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Well, okay. So I'm going to start. We went through the house and we found areas where things happen, and we just took note of it. And then I got pulled down in the basement and I was down there. I got pulled down to a corner and there's kind of like a little shop area set up, like, a workbench shop kind of area. That's what I mean. In the basement. It was an unfinished basement. It was like dirt floor and like wood beams and
they had a lot of stuff in there too.
Yeah. It was not like organized.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of, and so Mel comes down while I'm down there.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so.
What? What is so funny?
Because you were blindfolded. I don't know why you got blindfolded.
No. I think I went down there first.
Yeah, well, you went down there first.
And then we put the blindfold on.
Yeah, because you just wanted to take all the senses out of it. But what was wild about it, so Mel's blindfolded and just being led by, I don't know, I'm assuming your guides. I don't know.
Yeah, so what I do, so there's partially guides, but also at that point, I'm doing this thing where I exit my body partially. So I'm still present in my body, but I'm also actually like walking outside of my body. I don't know if that makes sense to people or not.
Yeah, that does to me.
Maybe if we tell them the rest of the story.
Okay, so I was so worried about him because he's blindfolded and he's going to just let his guides and himself move him around. And there's junk everywhere.
And it's not just like, oh, there's like a box here and
it was
there.
like wood with nails sticking out. It was like piles of junk. Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, there was dangerous stuff and easily, like it was hard not to trip on stuff with your eyes open.
Yes.
And so Mel there
were just like narrow areas where you could step
and
without stepping on something. So yeah, if you weren't blindfolded, you would have to like be watching where you go because there just really wasn't any clear paths.
Yep. And so I had been down there first and I had a notebook and I write my notes of the things that I'm getting told and my guides and all that. And I had it all documented. I was done. And then Mel comes down and then he gets blindfolded, eyes shut and blindfold. And then he just starts maneuvering around and he ends up over at this workbench. But it was absolutely kind of fascinating to watch because he maneuvered through all this stuff blindfolded and didn't trip or hit a single thing. And guess he ended up at the workbench too. So then at that point, he takes off his blindfold so he can tell his side. And I have my notes pre-documented already. And they end up matching each other, which is our validation that we're on like the correct. I call it energy thread, but whatever.
I remember taking the blindfold off and looking around and realizing I was in this corner with all the hazards that I would have had to have gone through to get there. And even I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So I had gotten called over to the workbench because when I went down there, I saw, and, I always say like, I hear the most, and yes, I get led and I can hear things, but I also see things. And I had seen this guy at the workbench and he was just like doing this loop where he would go to the bench and like, he tried to pick something up, like something was there. There was like a box on the workbench or something. Yeah, it was like a work table, like workbench kind of table thing. And there was a box on there and he kept trying to get it. And then he would just like, he couldn't, and he would like do this circle. It was just this loop he kept doing. And so I connected with them and I asked him, why are you, did you live here? And it was, and I said, why are you down here? Like, did you like to work on your workbench? Like that was like your big hobby, your thing. And that wasn't the answer. And I was so confused. And he looked at me and he said, I'm lost. And he kept trying to grab this box that was on the counter. And he kept trying to grab it. And then he would do this loop again and he'd come back and do it. And I was like, I don't get it. Do you not know where to go? Do you not know how to cross over? And this is also, I think, a good point to say this was when it not new for Mal, but newer for me to be doing this thing with other people. And so I was like, are you like lost? Like you don't know how to get, through the light? and I couldn't get an answer because he was like, I don't know how to say it other than like kind of confused or foggy. And then I just started trying to figure some things out about him. So, he lived there. And then I asked him, his age and when he died. And I remember I said, I had written down, he passed at age range of 49 to 51. And I remember that specifically. Oh, that's my honey girl. I remember that specifically because I heard very clearly from him he was 49. But because I was so new at it, I still had those times where I would doubt myself. And so I put that range in there just to be sure. And that's why I remember it, because I wrote down on my notebook the range passed at the age, 49 to 51. And I knew it was 49. And then it was confirmed afterwards that he was 49. That's why I remember it though. And and I can't remember all the details, but
no, but I mean, do you remember how we ended up resolving that?
Mm-hmm.
It was actually you who ended up doing the resolving part of it.
Yes. And so what had happened was, Mel had been brought to that workbench as well, blindfolded.
Basically, I validated the stuff that Catherine had written down.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it was
the house owner validated all our info for us.
Yes.
And here's what the deal was. So, and we had both, I'd written in my notebook and Mel had the same thing. There was a spot in the upstairs where the house owner felt very like she would get super depressed feeling and really drained and just like depressed. And it was a spot where we both had confirmed and made our notes that unintentionally he was kind of sucking the energy out of her. Right. And so here's what it was. So when we were confirming our info with the house owner, what was going on was when they moved in, that box that was on that workbench was there. And it turns out that box was the ashes of the previous owner, and they had gotten left there.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So it was like he was
he was
energy
forgotten.
Was that he was forgotten.
Mm-hmm. And so the saying where he said, "I'm lost," like he didn't know where to go. He didn't know what to do. And here's this ghost that, as far as the people who lived there were concerned, bad energy. And they're making her, not feel good about herself and be depressed. And to the point where she was worried about her safety and her kids and stuff. And so everyone thought bad energy. And he wasn't trying to do that when he was watching her and all that and being around her.
Well, what was going on was she was picking up off of his depression.
Mm-hmm.
That's what was happening.
And so when he was watching her, when he was watching her and around her, yeah, good point. She was leeching off of him, but he wasn't doing it to her.
Right.
It wasn't like
he wasn't even aware.
Yeah, this ghost wasn't trying. Yeah, he was so good. He was lost. He didn't even know what was going on, and so he wasn't trying to hurt her. But as far as the people who lived there thought that this was a bad ghost, and so I then did start talking to him, saying, "Okay, well, let's get you home." I explained this is what's going on then, right? And I'm so sorry that this happened to you, but you're not here anymore. Those are your ashes, because he had this like energetic connection to his ashes. Mm-hmm. But again, he wasn't seeing things the way you and I see things. So yeah. So anyhow, I was like, there's no reason for you to be here. And there's people waiting for you. So let's go. And he didn't want to. He was like scared to. And so the way I got him to go was I started talking to him about his life. And I think he had grown up with some horses, if I remember. And then, so he had this animal connection.
Yeah.
And then I started talking to him and he had a dog. And so the way I got him to not be scared and to actually, I guess what people call crossover, was his dog came forward. And I asked his dog to come for it. And I asked him, if you see your dog, will you, and that's all it took. It took this dog and for him to connect with his dog spirit. And that's what got him to cross and to trust. It's what got him to trust enough to do it. And then from there, he started to see these other people or spirits, whatever, that welcomed him. And then he was able to go, and it was good after that. So yeah, one of the ways that we can go with these things is that it's not always, so I guess it's not really scary ghost time.
I was about to say, that's not a scary ghost
turned
story.
into Catherine ghost time, which I like, because I don't know. I am, okay, I'm going to use this point to interject something, and you can debate me on it. That's totally fine.
You mean in front of the camera?
Yep, totally can. Because that's good to get different views and things on stuff.
Right.
I have a strong belief. I have a
Just
conviction. Yes. And so, and I want to say this the right way, because I don't want to be, I don't want it to be taken out of context. Okay. Sorry, I'm dropping things. I have a really hard time with people who profit off of things like ghost tours and like ghost busting, but not in the way that we went with. Some people would call that ghost busting. We call that a clearing, right? And the reason I have a hard time with it is this, because I've seen more than once ghost spirits that people think are bad or are harming them and get out of here and all these things, and they're not. They're just confused. I'm going to like cry over it. They're confused. They're lost. They are scared. They feel guilty, so they don't know if they think they're going to go to hell, or they're afraid to see someone that they wronged and don't think they're forgiven. And I just think that if you can see or talk to them, you have a moral obligation to at least attempt to help them cross over, because so unfortunately, I mean, if everybody could do this, we wouldn't be entertaining. Okay. So percentage wise, so few people see them versus those who don't see them. And so now you have a smaller pool of people that can help you. And out of that small pool, somebody would rather charge people for ghost tours and be like, ooh, get scared.
It's the exploitation that you have a problem with.
Yes, because that being said, there's definitely ghosts that, I mean, we have our ghost man, and I've never tried to get them to go away, or leave or be like, cross over, go. I don't know why they're here.
You're doing my debate for me then.
Yeah. And so,
because I don't necessarily agree that just because you're able to have an awareness or communicate, that you are responsible for any type of care for them. I really don't. To me, I disagree. That would be like saying, well, I mean, you know how to fix cars, and my car broke down and I need to get to work, so it's your obligation to fix my car. Okay,
I can see what you're saying there. But I'm going to define it better.
Okay. All right. And this is actually how we do get to defining things better, right? We start broad. We kind of challenge each other.
Yeah, I got my finger out. Let me finish. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to define it more, Mel. All right. So yes. Okay. I'm not saying that somebody who can see has to spend every waking moment and is responsible for every single spirit they cross. I don't. I get that. I don't. And I hear your car analogy, right? Just because you see somebody with a flat tire doesn't mean that you have to stop and be the one to change their tire for them. I understand that as well, because they
especially
have other
if you're
options.
Vulnerable yourself.
Okay. Oh, now you got to go and throw that in there. So that, but there's a difference between just not stopping and helping somebody who needs their tire changed and
calling other people to troll on them.
Yeah,
that I agree with. Yes.
I have a hard time with it. And I'm not saying that everyone who does things like that is bad, so don't take that out of this. That's not what I say at all. But
Well, the problem is sometimes there's suffering, and people would rather exploit that.
Think if instead of helping that guy, he was just so lost and sad, and everyone thought he was bad, and he wasn't. He was just sad.
Right.
And what if instead of helping him go and see his dog and his family, I started being like, hey, $20, come see if you can get a picture of this ghost orb.
Let's take some video and put it on YouTube and see if we can capture some EVP or something like that.
Everyone knows how to think of EVP. Okay. So there. Okay, yes, a little soapbox, a little thing, but it comes up because look at that. That wasn't scary at all. That was just a sad, sad person who got forgotten, and then their energy was forgotten and lost with it. Mm-hmm. And then they got to go. Right? And it was, I don't care. It sounds corny. It was beautiful to watch them trust and glow and grow and go. When they saw their dog, it was amazing. Mm-hmm. I would be the same if I saw my dog.
Should we move on to some more scarier?
We can try. We'll see.
Well, sometimes what happens is, so when you have an entity.
I am going to interject again. Whatever. It's fun. It's fun with us.
It is fun with us.
So we're not going to talk about it tonight so much. It can be another full episode, I think.
Oh, is this
But the light and dark. The light and dark. So you can see how...
Okay.
I can try and do a scary one. I might bring it back.
All right.
Okay.
So we'll do... All right. So here's what I was going to say. So a lot of times entities... they can, there's more than one of it in existence, right? So like when we were describing the man in the hat and the trench coat, mm-hmm. sometimes there can be more than one man in the hat and the trench coat, right? Because the way I would look at it, I kind of look at it like they're kind of like species, right? So.
Okay.
Do you understand? There's, in other words, we're not the only ones to see him. And even if we dispel him, others can, his presentation.
God, stop talking about the man in the hat.
Can occur.
He's such a dick.
There's this one I've had, it was actually a repeat. I've had this encounter in the astral more than once.
Okay.
It took 2 or 3 times for me to finally feel like it was gotten rid of. But it was like if you can imagine the Jack in the Box.
No.
Do you remember that? So
I remember. Well, yes, it wasn't mine, but I remember the story.
So the entity. Mm-hmm. So if you think of a Jack in the Box, and I realized, so it's what that entity looked like, but the bottom, it actually had legs, so it wasn't in the box. But the top half was that long, spindly. Oh, you know what? The body. What it reminds me of actually is like when you see like the spindly balloon things.
Oh,
like
at the car lot dealership.
Yeah. It's like that. Uh-huh. But then the Jack in the Box kind of head with that hat that goes, right? Like a Joker hat or something. So that is a big bad.
No, it's really bad. And I said, no. I know it from your story. But I actually dealt with them once too.
Oh, did you?
Mm-hmm. So go on, and then I'll add.
I was just going to say, it's a big, bad, scary entity. Mm-hmm. That's all.
Yep. Oh, that's all you were going to say? Well, what happened?
So many things.
Like what?
So I do a lot of work in the astral. And that's thankfully where I run into most of this stuff. Once in a while I run into it in the physical. That's not good. Mm-mm. But sometimes, most of the times I run into it in the astral, and that's where I'll typically run into this thing. I'll just tell you, because like I said, there were multiple times that I ended up having to deal with it. And it's one of those, it's scary. It's like, you don't know if this encounter is going to allow you to wake up type of a situation. But I'll just talk about the last moments of the last encounter, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in the last moments of the last encounter, if I'm recalling correctly, I think this was the one where I heard him like down in the basement area. Mm-hmm. And when I astral, I can see like our house, and it looks a little like, astrally, but it's our house and everything. So down in the basement, and you can hear like the thumping, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the ominous voice that's all around you and the breathing and all of that kind of stuff. And you just, right? And then it comes up out of the dark. And it's it's that spindly white, but with the Jack-in-the-Box head and the hat and, but it's got like long talons and it's got the long skinny legs and it's coming up at you. And I remember at that point with it coming out of the shadow, so I talked about my white aura on my channel. You've talked about your white aura on this channel, have you?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit. So one of the things you can do with your white aura is you can create armor and you can create weaponry.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that I did on that day was I remember creating this white aura, kind of a broadsword.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going after it. And he had his own sword, by the way. And I remember the two of us going at each other. And it's like if you watch cinematic movies, right? And then right at the point, right when the swords clash and then the screen just goes blank.
That's what happened.
That's what happened. And I woke up. And of course, I had to check everything out because when that guy comes, a lot of stuff happens in the house.
Yes.
A lot of bad stuff happens in the house.
And I hate what I get so mad about is that
it affects the pets.
Yes. And they will intentionally go after the pets. Especially our little old boy.
Yeah.
And
he's super sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
So Honey Girl sees them and protects you.
Poke them. He'll
he's vulnerable to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's vulnerable to them.
It makes me very mad.
So I don't know if I told that in a scary way.
But it was scary.
Trust me, it was scary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I dealt with that in the astral too. And I don't know if you remember, because after I told you about it, you said, that sounds like the Jack-in-the-Box. I remember that now. I vaguely
recall it. Do you want to give a few more details?
It was, know how I always say I'm learning I learn on the job every single day. And that is kind of always terrifying to me. And so, and the fact of it is, it's because my guides know that if they didn't push me and force me, I would just stay right where I am. I'd be just fine with that. So I was in the astral and I was encountering this entity and it loomed up huge and giant and
that's what it does.
The legs stretched and it grew and it was probably 30 feet tall or something like that. And I was like, I'm going to die. I don't know. I legit was like, I'm going to die. And
does it sound like we're always thinking we're going to die?
My guides were there and I was like, help me. And they were like, this is for you. And
they're like, you got this.
Yeah. But it was because I had to learn how to defeat it. And so you can talk. What I ended up doing was I said their name.
Yes.
And then it took care of it. And it was really terrifying. And I honest to goodness thought I was going to die. And then somehow I had this name recollection and I said their name and then I commanded them to go. Mm-hmm. And they did. And I didn't know what was going on. As per usual, it was something I never experienced before. I had no idea what was happening. I feel like I'm constantly thrown into situations where I have no instructions whatsoever.
You know what? You're given the material. Not our fault you don't do the homework.
Shut up. And so then I told you, because man, was I shook after that. I was so... And then that's when you're like, that sounds like the Jack in the Box. And then that's also when we start talking about knowing the name.
Was that when we started talking about that?
And the astral and all these, and that's for you to
that part's
talk about.
Okay. So yeah, I was going to ask, since you had brought it up, should we talk about soul names and demon names and things of that nature?
Yeah.
So there is a thing, and I know that this has been in like movies and stuff. I've seen them after coming here to the US, but that's not where we got this, right? If you know the entity's name, you have power over them. There is power in the name. It goes beyond that. That I know there's movies that have talked about that. So I'm not going to go deeply into that. I'm going to go more into soul names, because I don't think, at least I'm not aware of any movies that go beyond, oh, if you know the name of the demon, blah, 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 right? No, this goes for all soul names. So every single one of us, we have a soul name. So we have our names that we use every day, right? Here interacting with everybody, but we have a soul name. That soul name, if you happen to know yours, should never, ever be spoken. In fact, don't even think about it if you can help it. Because if that name gets out, things that would do you harm are now more able to do you harm. So where at one point you could defend yourself, if they know your soul name, you're under their power at that point.
But if you know their name,
they are under your power.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's all there is to it.
All right. Well, how would somebody know their soul name?
Meditation.
Always meditation.
It's always meditation. Look, it's not woo meditation, though. It's not like you're going to go, oh, let me do a little yoga. I'm going to go do 20 minutes. Oh, yep. I did my 20 minutes. I got my soul name. No, that stuff comes really with a lot of dedication, a lot of connection. A lot of times it can take years. It took me probably, I would say, over a decade before remembering mine. Over a decade of...
Well, why would you want to remember it if then you know it and then you could accidentally reveal it and somebody could use it against you?
Because that's how you protect it. You can't protect something that you don't know where it is or what it is.
Well, it kind of seems like ignorance is bliss on it.
Nope.
I can't reveal it if I don't know it.
But that's not... Okay, but if you don't know it, then you're not holding it. It means it's out there somewhere.
It's like on the dark web.
Yeah, maybe. It's like on
my
the dark
identity
web.
on the dark web.
It's out there somewhere, dangling, because it's like an attraction. You have to know it. So it's looking for you.
So I bet it's really important to not know it, though, until you actually understand what to do with it.
Yes, which is why I say, if you're hearing this for the first time, if this isn't something that you've been taught, don't expect to be able to go out and, in a week or two, be like, yeah, I know my soul name. It's unlikely that it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's impossible. I don't know you, but it's unlikely. Most people that I have known, that I've grown up with, that I learned from, it was a decades-long process before they actually got connected with their own soul names. And it's just, again, it really is. It's dedication and it's very targeted.
Couldn't somebody have somebody else tell them their soul name? It seems like people always come to readings that are like, who are my guides?
No. Because if it's true that they know your soul name.
Oh, gosh, that wouldn't be good.
They have power over you. They own you. So it's something to be very protected, very coveted.
Okay, so I want you to swing back around, Mel.
Okay.
And come back to when you were the astral ghost. So you were actually somebody's ghost story.
Yes, I was somebody's ghost story. So this is scary, but more scary for me. And what's interesting is the scary.
No, there's some teenage girl out there who's just as scared as you.
Okay, you're right. So I'm gonna leave a lot out, and I do that with these online things because otherwise I could hold you here all night telling stories. Basically, I was on an astral trip. I was chasing something. That's what was going on. That's how it all started. Mm-hmm. I was chasing something, and I ended up in this house, in this home. And I remember getting into this home and not realizing where I was. And I look around and it's kind of empty, but I hear like talking kind of. So I land in like a bedroom of this home, and it's like an upper floor, right? So if there's 2 stories, I'm on the top floor. I hear these voices coming from outside of the bedroom. So I walk through the door, and there's a stairs that kind of spirals down, and I walk down the stairs, and the house is actually pretty empty. And what I see is this woman who's like bringing in boxes into the house, and I realize they're moving into the house. And I remember going down, so I go down the stairs, and the way it's set up, there's like another room, and then like an open area. I think that might have been like a living room kind of area, and then a kitchen. And what I had seen as I was coming down the stairs, or, as I was coming out of that room and then down the stairs, was I'd seen the mom come out from that, whatever that other room is, through the living room and then into the kitchen. And she was actually talking to her teenage daughter, who was still actually in that back room. But I come down, and I'm aware that I'm in the astral. And so nobody should be able to see me. Of course, the mom doesn't see me, right? She walks right past me, and, she's going back and forth. And there's another point where she walks right past me. But then the daughter comes out. Oh, she doesn't see me. She hears me. That's what it is. That's what it was. So the daughter couldn't see me, but she could hear me. Because I think I said something and she heard it. I don't remember what I said. I mean, it's probably something like, where am I? Or what are you guys, something, right? And she heard. And I remember she like stopped in her tracks. Because, I was pretty close to her when I said it. I didn't think she was aware. And she stopped in her tracks. And I thought, uh-oh. Right? And, she's like, I don't know, calling out to her mom or something, saying she heard something or whatever. And the mom is basically ignoring her. Like, God, don't be so dramatic. There's nobody here. Blah, 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 blah. So this is kind of reminding me of every paranormal, like, those little 30-minute, 60-minute documentaries where they start out, oh, the single mom and her daughter moved into the haunted house,
yeah,
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm starting to feel like this was. So anyway, so the daughter hears me, and I'm like, uh-oh, right? And so I sneak into that back room.
It's such a creep.
I sneak into the back room, and I wasn't thinking. The door was starting to shut, and I wanted to get in there. Of course, I'm in the astral plane. I can walk through things, but I was so startled. I was so put off guard that this teenage girl had heard me that I pushed the door open to go into that room that ended up looking like maybe another bedroom or something, or just some sort of a smaller room. Well, of course, if I push the door open, the girl sees that, right?
The door open.
Yeah, the door opens with nobody there. So the girl sees that, and it's like, right? And I'm like, no, I'll bleep that out. And I'm like, oh no. So I go, and again, I'm not thinking straight.
You weren't intending to be there. It's not like you're trying to creep in someone's house. You were chasing an entity.
I was chasing a big bad demon.
And you ended up there.
And I ended up there, and I was a little confused.
Mm-hmm.
So
you were trying to get out.
I go into, like, I walk towards like the farthest corner I can. And I'm like, okay, if I just stand right here and I don't say anything, she won't know I'm here. And I can hear her talking to her mom, and her mom just like blowing her off, right? She comes in, and I'm also, I'm like stressed, right? Like my sympathetic nervous system is like kicking in, and I'm like, you know how like you want to like breathe quietly and you can't, so then you're like, so then you breathe even louder, and you're just trying to like stop.
So this teenager who can hear you hears how you breathe.
Oh, I'm sure, because she walked into that room and she had something in her hand, and I don't know what it was, but she had like a can of something in her hand, and she walked dead right up to where I was just trying to stand real still and sprayed me right in the face with something. And I remember like, I did that, and I zoomed up out of it and got back into my own body because I was just so in shock from getting sprayed with something.
So her ghost repellent worked.
Her ghost repellent worked. I don't know what it was, but she sprayed. I wasn't harmed, but what I find ironic was that I was out chasing a demon. And what ended up spooking me was this teenage girl with a can of spray something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Febreze.
Yeah, with a can of Febreze or something. So that's
a good one.
That's my astral story where I accidentally played the ghost.
All right. We're going to end with one more.
Oh, okay. You got one?
I do have one.
All right, let's hear it.
Well, it's one that we experienced together.
Okay. All right.
So we were going to these caves that are in...
Oh, this is going to be a good one.
There's these caves that you can get tours in.
After you talked about not exploiting the ghosts.
Right. Well, it was kitschy. Okay, so... So there's these caves that you can go to, and they do tours for the caves, and they do them all year round. I think they might be closed now, but they do them all year round. And they're
it's a ghost tour.
Well, the one we went on was a ghost tour.
Yeah.
But they do them all year round, not themed. It just happened to be fall when we went, so that's what it was. And it was awesome. It was really well done. There was like our guide was like an actor, and they were in
they
costume.
Were really good.
They were super in character. It was super kitschy. It wasn't what
they just go through. You get to go through the caves, and then they tell.
Yeah, because it was from like the gangster days, and they would hide liquor there during Prohibition and stuff like that. So you get the history of it, and that was the whole point of it.
Right.
Okay. So we're there with some friends, and
this is the beginning of the tour, by the way. We're not even like into the tour. We're still like, I don't know. We're only like 10 minutes in or something.
Yeah, we're there with there's probably like 4 or 6 friends with us, and then I honestly thought we were going to be the only ones there. And then this family shows up. It's like a mom, a dad, and they had 2 kids that looked to be about like 10, 11 years old, around that age, right? And so it's us and them. And so then the guide starts the tour. And we go in, and the mom of this...
Wait. Before you go there, the guide had said, if you want to...
download this EVP app onto your phone. So then if you hear anything, you can pick it up on your EVP.
Yeah, it's part of the experience. Right?
Yeah.
Part of the entertainment.
Yes. So it's part of that. So the mom of this group,
use the bathroom.
Well, so they downloaded their EVPs. We didn't, but like, why would we? But but they downloaded their EVPs on their phone. But the mom was just so like squirrely because she was so like, oh, like very her kids excited. Weren't scared or excited or
This might have been a trip for the mom.
I'm pretty sure it was, and she was just wigged out of her mind over it, like. She was just like this. Okay. She was so scared. So then we start the tour, and it's barely started. Mm-hmm. And the mom needs to use the bathroom. So we're at one portion of this, and it's big in these cave areas. It's big. They have like a restaurant. They have like they had a ball or like a dance bar area. And so we're in this area, and she needs the bathroom. So she has to go down the cave hallway to the bathroom by herself. And remember, this is her.
Yeah, she's already.
She thinks there's ghosts everywhere.
Yeah, she's already super excited.
Okay, so we're just continuing on with the
It was
guide.
really cute, by the way.
It was super cute. So the guide just continues talking about the history. Okay, and then all of a sudden, this mom comes busting out of the bathroom and like running down to the group.
Totally.
And she has her phone and she like thrusts it in the guide's face. And she says, I was in the bathroom and on my EVP, it came up. Look, it says ASEA. What does ASEA mean? Is that a ghost? And
so the guide looks at it, sees what it says, and is like, oh, Asia, yep, that's a continent. What about it? Something really similar to that. It was executed so well, you would have thought it was rehearsed.
And I looked at Mel and I said, oh, that poor mom. She has pee piddle in her panties because she ran out of the bathroom before she pulled her pants up because she was so scared.
The poor thing.
And that is my ending ghost story for tonight's campfire.
All right. So we clearly didn't share as many scary ones tonight, which I don't know why. We have a ton of them, but I guess
I don't like to live the scary ones.
I guess we were just in the mood to share more of the funnier ones.
Ghost week, Halloween week was hard on me. I like to stick in my side of things.
All right. Very good.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining us. I hope you were entertained and you like the stories. And as always, if you have any questions or any of your own stories to share, go ahead, like the video, give us some comments, and we can always come back to them some more. And be sure to join us next week. So I'm going to be exploring more with people, shielding and protection, because people have asked me, okay, we talk a lot about shielding, but how do you do that? So I thought that's probably a really good thing to go over. So next week's going to be all about shielding and protection. And I look forward to you joining. Take care. Happy Halloween. Hey, thanks for joining. If you like more psychic or brow-related content, remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell, and then you won't miss any episodes.